feels a little bit better just due to the fact that he can turn off the turrets, but obviously there's ways you can look for other lanes to play for. Usually could be that you wanted to play for the bot lane in the early game, seeing as there are very immobile AD carries down there. But Asa does come through with an Ezreal, which is interesting despite the fact that he had an incredible performance on Kai'Sa yesterday.
Yeah, completely. And interesting enough, Solary picking Jarvan here. you. I noticed that. going. That's good for anyone that doesn't understand what he's just done. He's making fun of one of the weaknesses that I have casting is I use a lot of crutch words. I probably shouldn't draw attention to it now because now you're going to be noticing
No,
it. But
yeah,
now, actually,
why?
the viewership will be able to hold me accountable from this point
Okay,
yeah.
you'll get supporters like I'll bully you, and then by that you'll get fan base because they feel bad for you. So it's like really good. I'm losing followers, you're gaining. There you go, buddy.
That's great from you. I wanted to say just about this Jarvan. It's not really a champion we see defaulted to very often, but I think with the immobile nature beyond the CC that they offer of the Ashe and the Seraphine makes a lot of sense here. We've seen 1-1-3 play it a lot. Along paired with the Ezreal, this to me speaks of kind of reciprocating that style that Carmine Corp often defaults to operates under. This is a different kind of Solary that we see, whereby the Ezreal typically being left on the island. I would imagine that for me, one of the bans that should have been perhaps given out by Mirage here was that Rakan. You can imagine they're going to go for something that's slightly roaming, especially with the nature of still back playing these engaged supports. Now that that's not been taken off the table, maybe it's the case that they want to take it on 4 here and then put the Seraphine into mid. We'll have to see.
It's interesting with the flex, right? I feel like here you just pick a mid laner. You already know you're playing against Corki. You have information about the jungler you're playing against, and you can just allow yourself to get a counter matchup for the top side of the map. If you still continue with the flex, I mean, it's really just to get a really preferred bot lane matchup, but no, they come through with the LeBlanc. They hit with something that attacked the early laning phase of a Corki. And that's going to be what they're looking for here. Unfortunately, not the best gank setup, though, that you have around it. Corki does get around the pillar with a Valkyrie. It's going to be curious to see how they will pilot some of these ganks.
This reminds me, God, when we started getting into that Corki meta, I remember very famously in the NLC, M&S had a very specific pick into it that was like
Kai'Sa.
very Kai'Sa mid, and that's when we first started seeing it actually.
Yes.
Obviously not going to be the case now, but I feel like as we get back into this, and like it's one of those things like it's like in history, right? History always repeats itself, and we're often sometimes blind to it. As the Corki starts to get into meta, are we going to start seeing more of these answers? Is the LeBlanc a similar answer in that regard?
I'm not too sure just yet, but I for sure think that there will be kill pressure that can come through. Usually, though, I'd see it pay it up with a better skirmishing jungler. Like, for example, if I saw Jarvan LeBlanc come through against a Corki, I'd think, all right, this is looking way better. Or even Volleyball LeBlanc coming through. Trundle, though, it relies on you closing the gap with a chain that must be land. So it has to be Rangjun being the one with a setup continuously. Now, the side lane, while Ornn has been picked, so far we've seen it be answered with Sejuani, but today it'll actually be the Camille instead. Camille actually loses a few traits in the early game against Ornn, but once you finally start picking up some of those items, he starts taking over the side lanes. And that can actually be a pivotal win condition, especially if Corki's is going to stay group, right? They start stacking up the objective. But if you have a side lane win condition, you can split the map apart and you can start picking the opposing members off guard. Potentially with the LeBlanc, Asher, or the extra vision you get through a Hawkshot.
Indeed, potentially Goldborg. That is what we might be seeing in this game. I think for me, one of the things that we brought up on the day is how much ease of execution and compositions does you favors in regards to some of these lower down teams. We saw Oplon earlier had the ease of execution. Didn't necessarily matter in terms of the skill delta. I feel like right now, what I'm looking at is a Solary composition that is a lot easier to execute. We have Mirage's composition really relies on that pick potential. I feel like once you've used the Ashe and the Seraphine, those can get dodged out. Then beyond that, you don't really have a lot to offer. You kind of have to go all at once and kind of, unleash what you have. And if that doesn't go your way, then Solari just have so many options to just kind of do consistent damage that they can end up winning a lot of these fights if they're just precautious.
I think you're completely right. Like, you cannot fall behind as a team right now as Mirage, but of course all our answers, or rather all our questions, will be answered in just a moment as we are ready to get into the intro for the game.
We're on to the Rift now for our final game of the day. Bit more of a lax affair in comparison to what we've had previously on the day with two very titanic displays in our previous games. Mirage and Solary. Two teams dwindling at the bottom of the table at the moment, 2 and 5, 1 and 6 respectively. Both trying to clutch out a little bit of a win here in their second game day of the Super Week in the LFL. Ulborg, how do you fancy their chances?
Well, it's definitely going to be a little more difficult this time around, though. I think okay, I'm just going to stop whatever conversation we had in mind right now. I'm going to focus down towards the bot side immediately. Cody's son is on the support end of this matchup. He has bought the Spectral Shickle, and he is currently sitting with Raxo, who's on a Doran's ring himself. So the Seraphine is going to be the carry, and Cody's son is going to be, well, presumably going the Ash build we've seen with like popularized but Rat in real life as well, going that Comet, playing the Bazooka Ash build.
I call him Anton personally. We're just close like that. But anyway, thank you for referencing him there, Gulborg. Very nice of you. Obviously, pretty much, I think himself garnering a lot of arbitration and flack for bringing that into meta. I know I've seen a lot of that in solo queue, and it's never really gone well. But I think it's important to note now. I like this adaptation because I feel like so much hinges upon their engage from Cody's son, and this build we see this quite often being something that utilizes a lot of ability haste, and I feel like that's really what they need in terms of getting that cooldown available for that ultimate. But I think important to note is that Solary aren't massively in a rush this game. They have multiple angles to play from, and they don't necessarily need to rush towards any sort of early objectives. I think any sort of advantage they can gain in the early game, they should definitely take it, but if not, it's not the end of the world.
You're completely right. With this Ash, though, they are able to at least gain some bot lane priority for Mirage themselves. They're not going to be using this for much, but of course, it feels nice knowing that you can push them back a little bit. And once we gear up towards that 6th or 7th wave, well, if they haven't backed for items yet, that's where we're starting to see them really gearing forward. But what I'd expect for them, if they were to go for an early recall, was for Raxo to pick up a tier. Of course, the build with Elyandra Anguish going into Seraph's Embrace is actually good for Seraphine due to the fact that Seraph's Embrace was changed where it no longer gave ability power per mana, but ability haste instead. It sucked for a lot of control mages, but for Seraphine specifically, it was a really good change because you could keep spamming out your Q and your ability.
Yeah, and we spoke about how important this mid lane matchup as well. You spoke about how Rangjun on this LeBlanc would be somewhat of an answer, at least to the early laning of Corki. It's been the theme so far this day that we see this Corki, if left unattended, is able to scale to such monstrous heights. A lot of teams against it just don't do enough to even quell that or quell the fan the flames of it. We saw previously in that game, I believe, Edis Academy with Lee Sin with the Ornn, they were able to do a little bit of attention towards the mid lane, but never able to capitalize on that. Look towards if they can burn that cooldown and then revisit it.
Up towards the top side, a thing I really love about this matchup is as when Ornn throws out his little pillar and gears up for the dive in to try and get the knock up, if you are fast on the fingers as the Camille, you will be able to hookshot on towards the pillar and stop the dash coming through for Ornn, as he is in fact not unstoppable. He can be blocked by Fresh Flay or whatever other CC you want to apply to stop any dashes. So yeah, interesting matchup. Ornn does get the early push-up, just incredibly high base stats. He does so much damage by just going Doran's shield. Grasp of the Undying can't really be traded back unless Balula gets into the extended trade, but you don't want to get into the extended trade of an Ornn in the early game. Once he gets off that brittle pass effect you can see right there, immense damage basically coming through. So Camille, while it's good, it's something that takes over the control way later into the game where you gear up on those first items.
And it's good to see Kyo get off to a good start at least. He's been a player so far in a lot of these games. We feel very lost in some of these laning phases, not quite having the performances that we would have liked to have seen. Obviously having his rookie split, a last split in the LFL, coming back now for his second split. Looking to leave more of a mark, more of an impression, obviously. Not managing quite to do that so far, but against the Mirage, this is your time to shine. This is your time to show a little bit of a personal presence against a team that is somewhat weaker than you, at least in the standings in that regard. But, being able to do that so far.
Yeah, you're right about that one. But moving on towards the junglers, not much action has come of that. They are on their second clear currently. As you can see, Joker was starting on the top side. And so was Memento as well. So they are mimicking the path, but they don't have too much to influence. Joker, of course, being on the Jarvan, could potentially look for something down towards the bottom side if he wanted to attack in a mobile bot lane with the Ashe and the Seraphine, of course, where Momentum probably just waiting for 6, because that's where he'll find the setup for his bot laners at least with the Arrow and Seraphine ultimate. But Corki still haven't been attacked. Scarlet still keeping up in CS against Rangjun in this mid lane we've talked about.
Yeah, and we spoke about how that's a real ticking time bomb in terms of just allowing that to scale up. He gets these packages, he gets that long range, it's going to give them so much poke. Important to note is that we have a lot of stopping power with that Seraphine as well, going to be allowing the team to heal up from any sort of poke, but I don't think it's necessarily going to be enough. Traditionally, you look towards the double enchantment setup to be avoiding a lot of like poke damage. I don't think she's going to be able to heal up that much in that way, but we'll have to see, I suppose.
I think you'd be right about that one. Moving in towards the rivers, some vision control has been gained, but you can see it will be a little bit of a fight for it being moved across the mid lane as well there. Scuttle will respawn in just less than 1 minute, so that could be a little bit of contention between the two junglers. Joko at the moment don't have too much to do on the map. Yes, he does have some procs up and available, but outside of that, he is fighting for control as we have just established towards this river.
So yeah, we can see him in this river as well, taking out this pink ward now. That seems to be the case that with Ranjun going back to base, Memento's going to have to give up this, just commit back to his full clear. We'll go towards the Wolves, taking an interesting path here, looking like he wants to just get a little bit of mid XP that he can. A little bit of that wave now, but now Joko's moved towards his bot side. With the wave being in this position, if they do step up too far, they will get punished.
Long range and those abilities though, with the mid lane priority and the bot lane having to back off, though they are setting up for the Rift Scuttle, but Momentum and Rangjum, they want to contest for this one. Joko, no flak and Drac up available.
On a good angle here in terms of the bot lane aren't going to be able to move first here. Joko waiting a few seconds until that cooldown. He actually doesn't find his way out.
He failed it!
He failed the EQ over the wall there, and that is rather interesting from Joko.
That is rather unfortunate. It's probably how I describe it.
The worst thing about being Joko as well is he's not quite Djokovic, so he doesn't get a second serve on that EQ over the wall. Has to, fortunately, take the penalty of the flash there. But flash in the pan, flash of lightning. Yeah, thank you so much.
Well, you are so welcome. Now down towards the bottom side, Joker is still around. There is a pink one around the bush here, and would get spotted if he wouldn't be making his way in towards it. Trying to bait Mirage bot lane to fight for it. See if they're going to step up, but steal back, unfortunately, not able to hit that mark.
See so much poke damage coming out now. They're able to return a lot of damage, even with Ashe going the support build. Slow is able to slow down the enemy bot lane, allow you to land as much of these abilities on Seraphine. She is deceptively strong. Obviously, the fact that she's farming means that she has that extra damage from the amp tome, but quite high amounts of damage coming out from the Seraphine.
Oh yeah, you want to respect the Sarah Queen, that's for sure. I mean, once you start building up that Elyandra, your abilities is going to be doing a lot of damage. And I think specifically once these two hit level 6, that's why they want to leave the mark. They can use it to either roam out of the map, they can use it down towards the bot lane, just try and set it. But for now, it's been fairly slow early game. Momentum is gaining a jungle lead as of right now, of course, because the bot lane did just spot Joker with a hawk shot. That gave Memento the intel that he could now move in towards the enemy jungle. And now having the rotation coming through from Cody-san up towards the top side of the map, Momentum can just continue with the pressure, trying to start out the Rift Herald. But the reset timers are actually coming through first from this side of Solary. So he will be forced to back out, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely going to be forced to back away here. Cody-san does not have ultimate available, but now they're looking for a counter. Seraphine's roamed up. Camille's off to the side as well, but important to note here, Kyo will be able to offer a lot more in a team fight if it does go that way. Difficult for Bad Lou to really gain anything here. This could be a massive all. They are going to find the jungler here. It's going to be Memento going down for first blood. We spoke about just before that, we called it how important Kyo would be here. That's a massive all ultimate, and now they get the Rift Herald, they get the kill as well. Big for Solary.
Yeah, and even more crucially, the fact that Scarlet is the one picking up that first blood. We talked about it. This Corki needs to be shut down in the early game. If it goes on checked in towards the mid to late game, it is going to be an absolute terror on towards their Mirage composition. And even then, that was Momentum starting up that Herald first. The move came through first from the side of Solary. Just a little bit disrespectful in terms of their read on the opponent.
Absolutely. Well, Memento has always been my least favorite Christopher Nolan film anyway.
Honestly, yeah, I was forced to watch that as well in cinematography studies, and I really didn't get the hype for it.
Well, I think it's one of his earlier works. It's like it's almost a student film, I can remember.
Oh, yeah. Well, it is more simplistic in terms of locations as well.
Speaking of things that might get complicated for Mirage, is this Rift Herald that's been taken by Joko, where he chooses to use it. He's obviously moving towards that bot lane. All that dragon as well, trying to get that first dragon of the game. Might see him try and turn the swings of affairs that we've seen so far. Obviously, Mirage's bot lane been pushing in waves, getting slight advantages. And now it might be the case that he's able to swing that back in the favor of Solary.
But By the way, it just feels like these teams are waiting for objective, right? Joker on the job and not really been able to influence anything, so it just feels like these teams are not really willing to pull the trigger. As some of the teams we saw earlier, for example, when we had the K-Corp Vitality matchup where there was a constant movement on the map, albeit very low kills, and rotations were coming through all the time as well. Now, speaking of these rotations, bot lane prior has just been gained by the Solary. Bot lane Steve Black can move up a little bit, if he prefers, around this Drake area to try and set up some vision for the forthcoming fight of it.
I think important to note is, although Scarlet has this package, he's going to be engaging onto Cody-san here. Doesn't do as much damage and doesn't cut them off quite here, but ultimate comes out. Not going to do just about enough damage, but it does force Cody-san out. We spoke about how important it is around the time that Mirage gets this level 6 and we start to utilize some of the aspects of the composition. But Scarlet does a very good job of just dissuading them away from this, and now with them off the map, hopefully use that Rift L before the 15-minute mark. Now builds more and more of an advantage for us.
Yeah, the first Drake and second neutral objective does go over to the side of Solary here, so they keep the stacking going, and it just seems like they're on course for what they want to do. Ezreal not really looking to utilize too much in the laning phase, just farming up. So let's just take stock at how it's looking between the laners at the moment. At the moment, we're of course comparing Asa to Raxo. Raxo is one level ahead currently of Asa, but I suspect that it's just going to be a wave difference between them, as Raxo had just hit that level 8 himself. In the mid lane itself, Rangjun still not being able to really solidify a kill on towards Scarlet. Scarlet also respecting the threat that would come out from the LeBlanc and has optimized in for a Hexdrank in the early game.
Memento going slightly too far forward there, tries to find Steelback. You can see at least they are starting to be activated somewhat in the lower quadrant of the jungle for Solary. Not giving up just yet in terms of the way the affairs have been gone, because obviously we spoke about how reaching that level 6 mark we needed to see them do something. They're quite happy just to continually get these plates. You see Raxo and Cody-san picking up one extra plate in that bot lane after that exchange here. Still continuing to get a slight lead in that regard.
But, I mean, at this point in time, this is where we just bring out the storylines instead of something else. There's not too much to fight for, except for the top lane, of course.
Lulu finds a good ultimate here. Use the ultimate too. I would have liked to have seen him use the ultimate there to kind of keep dropping in place. I think he had Memento in co, but we'll have to find someone here, Q, with a nice little stand up there. Means some was able to get over the wall.
But still, both these teams, none of them will. What is that Cody-san arrow? Just look across your mini right now. That's just zooming through. I don't know where that was supposed to go, but
I actually think I might have to duck, because I think that's aiming towards me in my house.
I think that's fair. I mean, from where I am located currently in Berlin, that kind of was your trajectory in UK.
Guys, in the chat room as well, just please be careful, because that Cody-san arrow might hit one of you. Just make sure you mind out for it. Just be, have that presence of mind, even if you didn't take the precision tree.
Honestly, with the heat currently being, being around the world, I'd love an Ash arrow to the face, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it could be nice and refreshing, especially if it... No, cool. That's going to be very painful. If it's melted, maybe, but it's not what you want. Nami W.
Just stuns you a little bit.
Nami W. That's what
Yeah, you probably, true. You know what? That's fair. But there's no Nami in this game, so I'm going to have to settle.
Yeah, well, settling is good. Speaking of settling, alright, might be being settled rather soon. Whether the first turret of the game to go down. Where will it come from? Obviously, that Rift Herald in the mid lane did get that mid lane turret quite low. Another repeat Rift Herald in the next coming minutes might be the one to finally topple that. But Raxo and Cody-san do continue to rattle away at this turret, lower and lower. And with them based off here, they might just be giving it straight away here.
Yeah, Settlers, but it ain't no Catan. Let's see if they can go for the turret themselves. It should be able to just pick it up, which, realistically speaking, should be the first and only turret we've taken so far in this game. Mid lane turret rather low as well after the Rift charge, of course, came through. But we're starting to see the damage that Raxo is accumulating. He's finally finished up the Elyandri's Anguish. Probably going to be moving on towards the Seraph's Embrace on the second item. Lucidity Boots is usually what we see. And yes, they have just been picked up. As I'm saying that, you just want to spam cooldown on cooldown on cooldown with this Seraphine build. It is so broken in the right hands.
Yeah, completely agree with you here, but Bad Lulu might be getting caught out here. Steelback's coming with the quickness. He is available for Bad Lulu, but whether or not he can find his way out here, uses the ultimate, is going to be getting cancelled here. Lovely flag and drag there from Jocko. Stops Bad Lulu, and a kill over to Azza. as we speak about being your star man for this team, putting out an immense amount of damage, being a large portion of the damage share for this team in terms of their damage profile, and that's very crucial to acquiesce and get a bit closer to.
Now moving up towards the second Rift Herald so far. Solary has been the kings of objectives in this game, and I think with the man advantage that they have accumulated for themselves with Bad Lulu dead, they should just be able to pick this one up. Once again, you have a mid lane turret, you can just deploy it in immediately if that's what you prefer. Bringing off the mid lane, of course, allows you to play for those side lanes instead. When you push in the deep mid lane, you get extra time before the wave bounces back to your own turret. That gives you extra time as well to play for the side lanes, to make moves, to take control of the enemy jungle, Raptors, Crocs, you name it, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, repeat affair in the mid lane we are anticipating from Jocko with that Rift Herald. Open up the map a little bit more. Also build upon that dragon, early Drake that they got, second dragon coming in. I would like to see Jocko move towards the mid lane, maybe build up some priority with Rakan moving as well. It seemed to be the case that they're moving straight to it. I think they can actually just build through with Cryo in the mid lane, especially with the Ornn roaming down as well.
Now, important is that this is where we want to see the pick potential working. You got pillars to work with, you got an Ash Arrow, you got the Seraphine ultimate. This CC needs to be layered around here as well, because as we've already talked about, there's a ticking time bomb in the mid lane, and while you kind of force them a little longer away from coming to that breaking point where he's really fearsome because of the Hexdrinker, you don't want to let them stack up this Drake. But now Solary, Intelligent comes through with the Rift Herald. Mid lane is already low. If they don't deal with this Rift Herald, they will get a second charge on their tier 2 turret. And that allows Solary to just move into the Drake pit and now obtain the Drake Cryo for themselves.
Yes, exactly. We spoke about how I wanted this to be what they did here. They've managed to do it using Scarlet's package as well. It's almost that threat of mutual destruction. Seraphine does come out, but it's dodged by everyone. The pick potential has not been found. Cody's son now is caught, and he's going to get taken out as well. Both bot lane members are killed, and Memento finds a return kill onto Yo. Here comes Camille, though. Bad Lulu's going to find Azza. Can he walk his way out here? Not quite. Steelback's going to be stunning him up there. It's a 2-4, all said and done, but the Dragon does go the way of Solary. Translate that control from the mid lane into a stranglehold position.
Exquisite fight coming through from Solary here, picking up a double kill for Scarlet, now sitting at 3 kills on the Corki, shot down, accumulated form as well, highest CS score on the map too. Becoming a rather big threat, and once again Solary, they're able to pick up the second Drake for themselves, third neutral objective. They're looking to stack rather, and also pad those stats for the neutral objectives.
Absolutely, and we spoke about the ticking time bomb of this Corki now reaching and moving towards that Mythic, obviously taking a slight detour on his scaling trajectory to pick up that Hexdrinker. Gives him a little bit of stopping power against the LeBlanc. Let's see on the repeat of this fight here. They're so split here. The Ash Arrow ends up landing onto the Jarvan, but then the Seraphine just doesn't come quick enough, you feel like, with the engage there. You could have at least gotten the Jarvan there, I feel, pairing it off there. It just ends up being a fight that's a little bit chaotic at some points. Memento does get taken out here, and Bad Lulu's able to find a slight response. Honestly, could have been a bit more of a wipe for the favor of Solary, but
I just think with a composition like you have currently on Mirage, it's so important that you're put in a position where Solary is forced to walk into you, because then you get to kite back with the Seraphine ultimate. You get to play around with the Ashlows, but when you're the one who have to move forward, it just becomes so difficult to play. And I'm not saying that fight was going to be the one that made or break it. Steelback's
going to be getting caught out here. Goes into the Jarvan ult. He's going to get taken out by Mirage. No neutral objectives, but a further fight might be found here. Solary look like they fancy the chances, but important to note the Seraphine ult is available. He's able to fight in and out. Now going to move towards this mid lane. He has to defend it.
Resso still have the ultimate as well. They can continue this siege. If Solary stays too grouped, they might be finding themselves in a lot of hurt, but at the same time...
Oh, lands onto 3. Seraphine ult does go to Corki, but it's a massive engage from Steelback. Back against the wall was Solary after that pick that was found onto Jocko, sorry. Find one here. 2 members very, very low. Imagine they just about being able to find slightly more. Was almost about to spawn as well.
Yeah, and crucially, not able to pick up a shot down on Scarlet if they're able to get down Rangjun or anyone in particular with, damage build. Could it looked a little brighter on the Mirage side. Unfortunately, that is not the case. And Scarlet's so close to finally completing that mythic item. You can see he's gearing towards that. Elyandri's Anguish once again to come through. This even could have been a Luden's Echo game as
Ooh,
well. Ash arrow.
ulti.
Okay, let's see it.
It's going to hit Scarlet square in the face. He's stunned for quite a few seconds here, but going to be able to walk away.
Calm down. Calm down. It's not dead just yet. He just did a skill shot.
You know.
That was what we could get excited for so far in Mirage. I think that was one of the better Cody Son arrows as well. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, well, you know, at least they hit a champion this time and not one of our lovely audience members.
Oh, Cody. Well, he's calibrating it. You know, it's like your old teacher. You know how you had those smart boards where they had to calibrate them with a pen? Kind of just focus on with the arrows, so he's getting there.
You just unlocked like a memory I've not thought of in ages. That's really good. Wow, remember that. Yeah.
I was a substitute teacher. I was that guy calibrating the smart boards.
God, I can imagine you being a substitute teacher. I think I would, you know, you would suffer in a teaching environment with me in it. I would. I could
only do it for half a year, and then those kids killed me.
I think definitely if I was in a classroom with you, I would like definitely give you like a fake name, like, or just tell you my name's like Thomas Pickett or something. You know what I mean? I'd just make you call me that. That's how you avoid detentions with substitute teachers, by the way, guys. I'm sure you all know that.
No, bro, I don't know if you like. I'll legit just tell you to go out of the classroom. I didn't care where you went as long as you're not in the classroom with me any longer. That's all that matters.
Yeah, God, you're a real coward, Bull. You are. But...
I just could not be asked.
Speaking of bravery, Solary showing a lot of bravery in terms of the CC that's been offered. Yo, going to be able to get the Ornal out here means that he gets taken out on the side lane, and this is going to mean that they can maybe move towards this tier 2 with the next wave. It's quite a ways away now. 15 seconds on the Dragon. Jocko's trying to push for Raxo here. Raxo has to go the long way. They are at least going to be able to get position on this penultimate Dragon here.
Yeah, I feel like this is the first objective that they're actually trading from the side of Mirage. This time around, they're not just fighting mindlessly for the Drake instead. And now Kyo having a 20-second death time, and maybe they'll have time to try and approach this Drake. But you know how I like extended that maybe? That's because he's very optimistic, and I don't think they're going to have time.
No, absolutely no time there. Not really able to get too much of an advantage. I don't believe that tier 2 in the top side even fell. So not really much being gained from that top lane kill that they expended quite a few resources for. Obviously important to note that those resources are back up now, so they are ready to look for another pick, but quite unlikely that Kyo is going to be one that you want to be trying to find these picks. I'll need to try and find these arrows onto, well, primarily Corki, I suppose. As with this cleanse, not exactly going to be a victim in many circumstances to an Ash arrow.
Oh, definitely not. And I mean, it's not the end of the world from the side of Mirage if you're looking towards a side lane win condition where you are playing towards a Camille. Obviously, she's ignoring a lot of these resistances. So that if they can break open these side lanes, if they become too focused on the neutral objective on the side of Solary without keeping Balulu in check, or Bad Lulu rather, Balulu, different player, it of course can become an issue, but I don't think that's going to be relevant quite frankly. I do believe that it'll have to come down to a team fight where Mirage will have to find it, but right now, struggling to see it. It's a slow-paced game that's very much just about the next objective coming up. And so far, those objectives, they have been going in favor of Solary.
Yeah, completely. 3 dragons now staring down that soul. It's going to be very important for them. It gives them so much stopping power in terms of the pick composition. I think that's another important thing to bring up if they get that mounted soul. Rangjun's life becomes absolute hell, and I think in terms of their pick composition, it makes it a lot harder to find that. If summoners are available, that extra shield could be the difference between survival and not. When you talk about how we talked about during the pre-game Goldborg, they have to land something and do something with it immediately. They can't be engaged upon in a extended fight because it comes down to a battle of consistent DPS. Solary will win out every time.
Oh, for sure will. And the thing is, it doesn't even have to come down in like a team fight scenario. Like ideally, Solary are just playing with the poke around the Neutral and the Corki. Like those two together, the trifecta is getting Yuumi, right? Yuumi, Corki, and Neutral on dispatch, you win the game. Having Corki and Neutral also allows you to just get so much leeway because it allows you to play a safe laning phase in the bottom side. Your support can roam as well. Help up the Corki, and once again, Corki has not been shut down in the early game. What does that mean? Well, Corki will take over the game.
Here comes an engage. Only lands onto Raxo, but he has to flash away here. They're trying to buy a little bit of time here. Ultimate from Jocko, flash forward. They get Raxo. Seraphino in response is not going to do much. Here's Azza probably getting the kill here with a final Q. It's going to go the way of Jocko. One kill. Someone has burned. Raxo going to be a lot more immobile now. Only Jocko created this flash.
Queen is down. The Queen is down. How much can they get on Solari's side? Albeit, doesn't really look like too much. They're getting pressure. They're in deep vision by Steelback. And they're just picking up a few camps, getting themselves some extra gold in their inventory before this inevitable fight in 2 minutes around the Soul Drake. Or Soul Mountain Drake, rather. But you just take a look at the vision control right now. Majority of it is just in the favor of Solary. They know exactly where the members of Mirage is going to be. And while Mirage are clearing it out, well, once the resets come through from Solary, they will be able to retain it again just due to the fact that they're so potent with that damage to just take control over the map.
Yeah, completely agree with you, Goldborg. I mean, it's needless to say, building this 4,000 gold lead or so is really doing no favors for Mirage in terms of how important it was that we spoke about it, how important it is that they don't fall behind in this game. They certainly have done on all fronts. Dragons, gold, towers, some individual lane leads, CS in the mid lane. 3 items available now, and this Corki is massively online. And that's able to find him, very luckily. He obviously is going to be the one that needs to bear the brunt of this picking position. They can't find him, they just lose.
100%. But I also feel like there's more to this pick as well. It doesn't have to call through the ultimates. Remember, Ashe auto attack stays slow, and Seraphine's E actually gets amplified. The first E Seraphine's flow out will slow their opponent. If the opponent is already slowed, which is of course the, you can see the bar right now, you have that Alpha 2 abilities out, it'll then root them afterwards. But since the auto attack from Ashe is already slowing the opponent, Seraphine's normal E will just ruin them, and if she gets a double one, it'll actually amplify a stun on top. Not that I think it's going to matter too much, because Corki is sitting on 3 items and he's outraging all of them, and Baron has just been started off.
It has been started off. Memento somewhat distracted off to the side. They have found Steelback. Ultimate comes out. It's going to take him out. On our own response, is a disengaging ult though. Mirage have found a pit. 20 seconds before the Dragon. This could be their chance to slow Solary down somewhat.
Gonna be optimistic. Baron still up. Steelback back in 20 seconds. They have to go for the Drake immediately, but even if they do that, kinda have to go for a turn. They just don't have the tools right now for that. Ranchon, the only one with an ultimate available. And that kind of just allows them to push in the mid lane and then continue the sieging with the Corki Rocket. Steelback 5 seconds till he's alive. He's going to be running out of the base with home guards, and as it's looking right now, Solary, they don't even care about the Drake. They're just going to be running it down mid to try and take care of this turret.
Yeah, Solary have the privilege of having a choice here. Take that tier 2. Don't necessarily care about that Dragon. They've got time to play with and get that gold now. Obviously, unfortunate for them that the wave wasn't set up in top lane for them to then be able to move towards that tier 2, but importantly so, they're going to be able to take that Baron, move back onto the map, and now start to build that gold lead more and more.
But of course, also sieging up with Baron empowered minions when you have a Corki is super pivotal. Does cancel out the hook shot.
Oh, Ashe ult's not going to do much. It's a lot of damage from Scarlet. Delivered a package that has the Scarlet letter in it. It does spell out death or bad Lulu, unfortunately.
So that side lane win condition blown out the window immediately there for Mirage now, taking control of the majority of the map. You can see the way that Solary has decided to display themselves as they're in the mid lane, pushing it there with Baron empowered minions up towards the top side of the map. Keo pushing another wave in. He does have that teleport shoot. He wants to join the team around the potential team fight. And now Scarlet, of course, coming in with a wave himself. But now Asa moving in, so there are 4 members around the bot side turret to just siege it and take care of it.
Yeah, with this Baron now, we just spoke about it before, how they're going to be able to set up, get more of these turrets, and now it's the case. They don't necessarily have to worry about that soul previously. They're just going to be in a position whereby after this Baron, the rubble of Mirage's kind of general structures is going to be in such disarray that they don't necessarily care that they didn't get that earlier. It's more they're able to get these advantages right now when they want them.
Disarray, I like that one. New words every day. That Lulu stepping up. The position he should be potentially a little careful in. Steelback can roam up together with Joko, can look for play, and yes they are.
Bad Lulu, he has flash though. Ashe ult comes out in response here. Seraphine ult is going to go onto 1 here. Joko's gone quite low, look off to the side. Ranjan's tried to do a lot of damage here. Bad Lulu flashes away here. Joko can Memento find him, not quite. He owes him though, he's going to get taken out. It's not, there's so much healing on the side of Solary coming out from almost nowhere.
And just like that, they manage to keep them alive. They get the turret, they get the objectives, no members fall, and they can just go through with the resets once again and continue the siege with more items being picked up. Now Scarlet, building towards that Revenant's Hydra, has picked up not only just a Hexstring as we saw earlier, but the Maw of Mortius has been completed too. Getting that extra AD, of course, gives you now the Amplified Magic Shield, so the components building towards that Revenant's Hydra also helping on that front. Level 17. A force to be reckoned with in the mid lane from Scarlet, and not even then. We're actually seeing the Prowler's Claw complete from Asa. Now, some of you may be a little confused as to why this item is being built, but the idea is that if Israel is not auto-attacking, he's not going to get value for a lot of the base stats that you get from Triforce, which means attack speed and such. So those stats are actually wasted gold. What you can do then instead is you can go towards Prowler's Claw, will actually give you armor penetration, or lethality rather, as a mythic passive item. So the more legendary items you complete also gives you more lethality, and that in turn also amplifies the damage you get from your Q. Now Sly, looking for a little bit of engage, but not finding one. Cody.
Oh, Cody's in danger. He's going to get taken out. That's Jocko picking him up there. No flash available, and another pick. Minute 40 before the Dragon, so it's not going to matter too much in that way, but Solary just keep on finding these picks out. Only one ult, and on the turn of a hat here, like a Cody's son dying here, they might be able to find Memento. Good Seraphine ult. Oh, I say that, but it doesn't manage to hit anyone. They're going to get Memento as well, and that's 2 kills now. Having to pack, they don't have the Baron, so it should be the case of routine destruction here, whereby they are going to defenestrate this inhibitor here. Have those super minions for when that dragon spawns in.
Most definitely, even Baron coming up in 1 minute as well, so loads of neutral objectives to take care of from the side of Solary here. They are looking stellar, building up a 10k gold lead, coming through with the synchronized recalls, except Joko still running around the map, might be looking for some gold in terms of components he's building up for the last item. Blue buff also being set up, but either way, on the resets now, Solary, they are only having a few objectives left. I think there's only 2 to 3 minutes left of this game as well, Jake. It should be over in just a bit.
It should be over, you'd imagine. Staring down this 40-second mark for this Dragon, Mirage have to try and find something. They have to find that crucial pick. We've seen them do it before, which is the only reason we're really in this game anymore. If they can do it again, if they can use these picks to get this big Seraphine, you know, obviously previously we saw Raxo just now missed it. If we can find it here, if they can avoid some of the initial primary engage that we'll see from Corki, from the Ornn, we have a chance here. So much to be done for Mirage.
But the thing is, they don't like. You can see all 5 members of Mirage currently around Drake. They shouldn't be legal. They should just be running it down mid from the side of Solary, and they should take care of this Nexus turret, pick up the Baron afterwards. But they are.
Scarlet's going to do so much damage to Bad Lulu here. Yeah, I mean, it's the case now as well. Scarlet has that teleport. If this fight ends up going too long, Ornn come out here. Big ultimate now. Cody Sun's off in the back line. Memento's going to get taken out, though. They can pivot at a moment's notice towards that. Rangjun goes quite low as well, but Mirage have survived. They put a little bit of HP back. Dragon is going to go the way of Solary, though. Right here, Bad Lulu's found Asa, though. He goes into stasis. This is going to be a big victory. This could be a big fight for Mirage here. They keep going, but so much stopping power. They get the kill. The mid lane. If Solary can stop them here, then Scarlet can teleport into the base here. Only one base has been primed. It is going to be LeBlanc who finds his way back here, but it could have been really quite dangerous for the side of Mirage.
And I'm not too sure if they can just go immediately on towards this Baron themselves. They are lacking their AD carry, and of course they do have the turn potential, but even then, you only have 1 mid lane inhibitor. There's not too much pressure on the Mirage base at the moment. They will be able to contest it, so I think you have to wait for your AD carry before you start threatening the Baron.
Sun lands an arrow here. He's going to land onto Theo here. Can they take him out here? Yes, they can. Great arrow there. How over-aggressive here in terms of not having their AD carry. The turning point now. Can they still turn? Steelback takes a lot of damage over the wall here. Look at Scarlet. How much damage can he do? Important to note, they are in this choke against Seraphine. Seraphine has the ult. If they walk up too aggressively, it could spell absolute disaster. Rangjun's over the wall. Stop out Scarlet's base here, but Baron is going to go the way of Mirage in quite a turn of affairs.
There's actually quite crazy scenes at this point in time. I don't know if it's enough to get back into the game, but they pick up the objective bounty. Now Solary gets fight.
Raxo doesn't have flash, rather. Uses that ultimate to get rid of Steelback. Get him away here, but with this pick now, even despite the fact it's going to be a package forward, might be slightly more over-aggressive from Scarlet.
Unless they can find him.
Arrow.
Oh, has to flash away from the ultimate. Cody's son spoke about how, you have your teacher, you start to get a bit more practice in that regard with arrows. Like you're saying, found himself. Smart board. A couple of arrows on the board as well now, but Solary are staring down against the Baron. Once that wave comes out, great engage now onto Cody's son. Onto Rangina, he gets taken out. Lulu tries to find a return kill here. Cody's son Memento are awake now, or alive rather. They get taken out here, and despite the Baron, Ace and Solary are going to be taking the game here. Not enough pieces on the board here. Black Hole, Cody's son, won't you come? Solary wash away Memento and Mirage here at the dawn of the game. They get the Baron, but they do get taken out here. Blotted out as the soldiers of the sun. Solary secure your win here, and they secure me a prediction